It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. It's a walkthrough day for the Tennessee Titans out at training camp. Tuesday marked the second padded practice of 2023. They'll be full go at practice again tomorrow morning. Around the NFL, LA Rams star wide receiver Cooper Kupp left practice early on Tuesday, undergoing an MRI on his hamstring. The team saying that Kupp could be back in a few weeks. Fall camp starting up in Knoxville today. Tennessee hit the practice field earlier this morning as we are 1 month away from kicking off year 3 of the Heupel era in Nashville against Virginia on Labor Day weekend. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's up, everybody? Happy Hump Day. Blaine and Mickey. No Titans media today. So they're doing their walkthrough. Variable got asked this off season. Got asked about, hey, man, how are you going to cut down injuries? I think I read the whole quote yesterday. So we're going to
said pray.
on the third day we're gonna have a walkthrough. We can't not practice, he said.
But didn't they do walkthrough before on the third day?
Maybe they're just
special
walking.
teams practice.
They're walking less hard. They're walking just slower on these walks. I don't know. I mean, you training camped with the NFL team 10 times. Do you like?
Well, we had
2 a days and pants.
Well, yeah. Except the walkthrough day was more special teams, and it was kind of a jog through. You're still out in the heat, and I was a little perturbed because I was a backup, so I still had to be out there. So it wasn't no complete whole day off.
Mm-hmm.
So I get like the second practice off, but I bet they're out there jogging around a little bit just to get loose. Maybe some guys are fully off or do rehab or work out, but I don't know if that has anything to do with the injury history. I would assume not, but we shall see. 3. I was really stunned 2 years in a row. If it goes 3, that is a Titans problem. Sorry. No way. You should be leading the league 3 years in a row. So and it could be a vast array of things. I'm not an expert in that at all, but it could be just you could just understand their style of play. They just play physical, and eventually bodies break down. You could say all individual players aren't working out as hard, or when they get away from the facility in the off season and everything else. But it's always going to go back to the Titans. It doesn't even matter if nobody's going to give responsibility. Like the players, they better work out or they won't be on the team. I mean, to a certain extent. So, or they won't be available a lot. Just kind of like Christian Fulton. He decided to work all in off season. He looks fantabulous out there. His body, his physique. So we'll see if that leads him to still staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He could still strain a hamstring. He could still, hope not, calf or anything. He could say he did everything. He went to the best in the world, and boom, it still happens. But then everybody going to go back, you didn't work out this summer with the Titans. Well, when I did do it, it didn't work either. See, so there is no rhyme or one answer or reason, to this. But if it's 3 years in a row you lead the league, now that is something that I don't think I've ever heard of that, ever, in the NFL. Because usually you go through a string of injuries. Every team has it.
Right.
It's just, it's no way around it. So hopefully, hey, if he thinks this is the way to do it, hey, cool. He would know better than most. He's there every day.
Continue with installation, he said. Come out here in the morning or whatever and walk through the installation. We can't just take a day off. We have to continue with the installation and make sure that we're progressing on into third down or red zone or 2 minute. But that'll be a little different in that regard, just the volume on that third day. I mean, I guess they're trying something new.
Yeah.
So
they got to give him credit for
say
that.
they're not trying something.
Yeah. So, hey, tip the cap. Especially coaches, it's kind of hard for them to get out of that routine and all of that. They just keep grinding. And, well, it's on them. Well, I think after 2 years, he said, we got to do something different. We got to try something. So, hey, this is it. Hopefully it works out. I tell you one thing, though. I'm impressed early in camp and with the pads on, how they look. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the starting unit. You start having some injuries, which everybody's going to have some, as we just mentioned, whether it's just a game or two or ankle sprain or whatever it may be. Depth is always a concern. It's a drop off. Just looking at the corners, just top 3 corners. Then after that, I go, ooh, I like those players too, but I go, ooh, that's different. Trey Avery, Chris Jackson is not Bunton, is not Fulton, is not McCrary. Like, dang, I wish we had a couple more. Like guys, you say, he probably could fringe start, but nah, I'm not saying that about those dudes. Don't tell me you got that. Hey man, it's just.
So I wrote this down before I left the house. You can ask my wife. I said, before I go, I got to write this one other thing down. I wrote, I like the look of the defense, but I'm worried about secondary depth.
Yeah.
Byard hasn't missed a game in 7 years. It is what it is. Karen said on the F&M Bank Check, guys, don't jinx us. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, we got. Hey.
This is reading things that have happened. Byard hasn't missed a game in 7 years. McCreary played every snap last year. Those are two things that happened. We're not jinxing them by saying that they happened. They happened. Fulton in his career has played 6 games, 13 games, and 11 games in 3 years.
So you must assume what?
13 and 11. He ain't going to play. He ain't going to play all the games. So who's the other guy? And then I got real curious. I'm thinking.
That's why I thought they should have drafted a quarter. Yeah.
What did Hooker miss in the last 2 years?
Oh, he missed a lot. He missed 4 or 5 last year, didn't he? It was serious injuries too. It wasn't no muscle stuff.
He's
missed a knee or sprained knee.
Hooker and Sean Murphy Bunting, because I went and looked at him too, even though he wasn't here. They both missed 8 games in the last 2 years.
How you think we got him? Because of that. Because you watch him, you go,
he's a good player, right?
Right. You go, how the heck did we get him? How was he on the market?
So current math says this, Blaine. Byard and McCreary are probably going to be out there most all the time, because Byard and McCreary, in a short sample size and a big sample size, have been out there all the time. And then if you look at the last 2 years, which is a fair sample size, 2 years, Fulton is probably going to play, 6, 13, and 11. What's the average of that? 10, 11, 12?
Yeah,
so his history
12, right?
So his history says he's going to play 12 or so. And then Hooker and Sean Murphy Bunting have each missed 4. So that says they've missed 8 over the last 2 years. That says those two are going to play 13 games. Maybe great things happen. They play 16 or 17. But I'm looking at what their bodies say that they have been able to do. So then, you're like, Then I really started thinking. I didn't even look it up because I didn't want to be discouraged. I did not look this one up. I thought, well, Molden's, he's kind of working his way number 3 safety. They just don't have anybody else. That dude's been hurt more than any of them.
Yeah. He basically, you could just say he missed the last 2 years of
it. Yeah. And he's probably the top backup safety right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks good out there. I mean, yeah.
Oh,
it looks like he can be at home, as long as he stays healthy. And it was all the same injury, so he had the groin and then maybe he did something else to it and then it just never got right. So that was the same injury. It wasn't new injury. So now that he's out there, let's see if he can even make it through. I don't even know if he even made it through. He made it through camp last year. But it was early in the season where it was just like, something must have happened again. Remember, I thought it was some scar tissue that he maybe tore on his groin. But then it was not.
He played 2 games last year. He played 16 the year before. He played 2 last year.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see more out of him. I don't know why I feel more confident about him. Well,
I was going to say
that's horrible.
We got 5 minutes. Let's go down this rabbit hole.
Injury with him, then I think he's fine. And then the other guys have shown a pattern history of different injuries, and I'm like, I don't know, it'll be something else this year. Yeah, but after the first crew, it could get a little. It's funny now. I'm looking at the receiver spot now. I feel like, man, we may have to cut some quality depth pieces. Like, Dow and McMath.
One of them ain't making it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting now that, looking at out there, what's the kid we brought from the Texans?
Chris Moore.
Moore looks good. NWI looks good. Depth piece, Phillips, the top 2. Man, then after that, you go, ooh. And then some of these young bucks, you go, man. If they do what they're doing in practice in the game and they end up cutting them, they're going to be on somebody's roster, whether it's Roberson or a Junior or
and Kearis Jackson had a big day yesterday.
Yeah, they look solid as 5th, quality and could do special teams, help out to continue to grow. I mean, man, whew. I think see now what the D-Hop did, that now puts right there. Yeah, I mean, so now I think they look pretty strong. Are they in the elite class? No, probably not. But if Burks starts playing like we expect and how he looks, I I think they got a shot because, D-Hop's going to do D-Hop. And then you get one third contributor, whoever it is. It can be a different guy. It could be Phillips one week. It could be NWI another week. It could be Moore another week. See that in that third spot. And then if somebody gets nicked up, somebody can rise up for a game or two and hold the fort until you come back, whether it's NWI, Phillips, or Moore. And see, that can happen. And so down you feel comfortable. I don't feel like that with the cornerback's position, with the other guys. And they can hold the fort maybe within a game. But then to say, this guy's going to be the starter. Let's say if we got to go, I loved him. I said he was going to make the team last year, Trey Avery, who ended up eventually turning out to be pretty decent. Can he build on that, or has he maxed out on his ability?
Right.
On where he can go in this league. I don't know that. I don't have the answer to that until we actually see him out there consistently in game live action. Because then you can start seeing your warts and your weaknesses. I really haven't seen a lot in his game. He's kind of a consistent technician, smart player. After that Buffalo game, then he kind of found his way. I think he got kind of thrown out there to the wolves, man, where you got to go against Diggs, man. You like,
Yeah.
He kind of lost himself, got a little rattled.
It happens.
Wasn't even playing, what the, play called. So after that, then he kind of settled down and kind of got into a zone there. So, yeah, him and Jackson temporarily. I'd love to have a veteran that's out there that's not at the end, but got like 3, 4. You don't have to start, but you go, hey, man, he can hold the fort if one of these guys go down.
And those people, some of them are going to get cut somewhere. Waived, cut.
It'll be for money or whatever it is, And so maybe they're waiting for something like that. And you can still get them veteran minimum, but they can contribute or maybe a little bit more than that. $2 or $3 million in the NFL world is still not a lot of moolah when you're out there on that island by yourself and, covering guys who are, running forward and you're running backwards.
They have $12.4 million of cap space right now, according to Spot Track. That's with only Hubbard's deal not showing. And Hubbard makes $1 million. I mean, that's what he makes. He's a veteran. That's the minimum.
Yeah, so to me, when you see that, then he's not competing to start.
So then they got $11.4 million in cap space. I guarantee you his cap space is $1 million. It has to be.
Unless they gave some of it and signed about. But I don't think so because they didn't say.
So let's say 11. Maybe it's 1.4. So they still got $11 million in cap space. Now, they got 90 bodies. So some of those guys, this is the top 51 basically is what it shows right now. It only shows 51 people's cap number, not all 90, obviously, or nobody would be under. So there'll be movement, and there's still some contracts they haven't tinkered with, like, say, Landry, that they could if they needed to. But they've got double-digit cap space. And they're going to need some walking around money for the season. But all the draft picks are signed. Big Jeff got his deal. He got redone. Byard is where he is then for the next 2 years. So they got double-digit cap. I would sleep a lot better at night if they said, hey, man, we signed this fourth-year corner who just got cut from the Bengals or somewhere, another depth guy. Because remember, we looked this up. Like, the oldest two people are Sean Murphy-Bunting because he's played for 5 years. And then who was your guy last year, the cornerback rookie undrafted? He's the second. He's like the second oldest guy in the room. And it's his second year. He was just old, because of COVID years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Rutgers, Trey Avery. Yeah, I think he's like 26 maybe.
25 or 26. Yeah,
like that,
just because there's a bunch of old college players now.
That's kind of how it was in the receiver room until you bring in D-Hop. So that's what I'm getting at. You just bring in one of those guys and not a guy who's just trying to hang on and get another contract or get into coaching, or I'm just like a guy that can still play.
Like 26 and a half years old. This is year 2 for him. Yeah. It's 26 and a half years old. So he'll be, what, 20?
And then don't make it, make it through training camp without any serious injuries to any of the starting group of any position. Yep. Any position. So that they do that, then okay, now we got something we can work with. You can always find a corner, as you mentioned, if somebody's going to get cut, quality player, depth piece, kind of like Hubbard, but you a little more consistency and staying healthy. I think that's kind of Hubbard's deal. He's kind of, a guy that's kind of gotten banged up a lot. So, yeah. I know a lot of people saying Eli Apple, like, he just got picked up by the Dolphins because of Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
So someone mentioned there Tennessee back road. But, yeah, somebody like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, he may cost a little bit more than I'm willing to spend, but because first-round pick and he's starting in this league. But I want a guy who's played a lot, but maybe was never considered actually a starter. Like he was never the guy. He's one of my top 2 or 3 guys. He was just a guy who played a lot, shown flashes of, he could start in a pinch here or there. Because if we didn't have this really good defensive line, the secondary would show up and the cornerbacks would show up a lot more. Safeties are fine as long as they stay healthy, but they would show some serious holes, and that's is expected.
All right. There's lots going on at Indy. Our guy, George Bremer, Ball State buddy, writes for the Herald Bulletin newspaper up there. Let's get the latest on JT Taylor. Let's get the latest on Irsay. Let's find out what is going on at Indy. What the heck is going on next?
Cuckoo.
Yeah. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Boy, Lucas just rocking us here with some heart music, man. That's, yeah. All we want to do
What's wrong with
is,
heart?
I don't know, man. What about Barracuda? All I want to do is make love to this segment.
I've reverted to the JT way of putting music in.
Oh, you just like put in the
Just
letter
tossing
A and
stuff in
whatever
there,
comes.
yeah.
Okay.
The man trained me. He taught me everything I know.
Well, God bless him. I don't. Right, 100%. This is JT's issue.
Yep.
Well, that's the walk-up music for. It's the walk-up music for our friend George Bremer, who covers the Colts and Indy. George, sorry about that, man, but there you go. Is that your favorite Heart song? Did you request that?
What's the one from Rocky? I think that's the one I remember most.
The Heart song from Rocky?
I think Rocky 4, I want to say.
Boy, I'm Rocky 4 literally ended the Cold War. I'm a big fan of that movie, but I'd have to go back and figure out which Heart song was on the soundtrack.
Yeah, I want to say
Burning Heart.
Little, but
Burning Heart.
That was Survivor,
There we
though,
go.
not Heart.
Oh, yeah.
maybe that's it.
That was Survivor's follow-up to Eye of the Tiger.
My brain's so rattled right now by the last week at camp. Who knows what I'm thinking?
Did you also have a meeting with Jim Irsay? Like, what happened, man?
I want to go on that bus. I mean, man, that looks like a luxury liner out there.
But it sounds like when you come off the bus, you didn't get what you wanted, right? Because that sounded like JT. Like, he went on the bus for an hour and came off with, like, bad stuff.
Yeah, no, that did not go well, evidently. This whole week has just been, one huge soap opera up here. And I think it's a little bit of a perfect storm, if you will. You've got a situation where the running back market is severely depressed. The Colts are kind of digging in their heels and saying, we want to see if you're healthy. We want to see how this mixes with the new quarterback, how it is with the new offense. And JT's kind of digging in his heels and saying, look, I want to be paid. I want some assurances before this year before I go out there and put my body on the line. And I think on his end in particular, all he's going to look back to is his rookie year. Marlon Mack goes out there, in the same situation. It was, hey, go out there and make a good team with Jonathan Taylor, and then, we'll see where it goes from there. And he tore his Achilles tendon in the first half of the first game against Jacksonville. And I looked up the other day. I think he's played 14 games in the NFL since. If you're Jonathan Taylor, you live that. I see where he's dug in as well.
How did it get this bad, though? How I know you said a perfect storm, but my gosh. I mean, trade requests, it might put you on a list where you don't get paid. And, I mean, this is a long road to get down in a short amount of time, it seems like.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, this is the very definition of that escalated quickly. I mean, you're looking back in June, it was really the first hint that things weren't all wonderful when Jonathan Taylor was saying that he wants to be here for a long time and not really feeling that love back from the organization. And then here we are the first week of training camp, and there's trade requests and NFI threats, and it's really devolved almost into an elementary school food fight at this point. There's been a couple of quiet days now on social media, but there for a while, every day on social media, there was a new back and forth between the owner and the agent, and it's just real ugly situation. And at this point, I mean, there will be some kind of resolution, obviously, but right now, as we sit here on August 2nd, it's hard to imagine what that will be.
George Bremer just bringing us the latest from Indianapolis. He's at GM Bremer on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's with the Herald Bulletin newspaper.
Well, I have to ask you this. I know he said he didn't have a back injury, but he wasn't practicing because of a back injury, right? Or was that not true? I'm not watching the Colts everyday practice, but, man, he was standing out there like he is injured before this happened, correct?
Yeah, he's on the physically unable to perform list. And that's another level to, all of this intrigue because most people are pretty sure it's not the ankle. I mean, that was a high ankle sprain. The surgery for that, I heard Alabama does that to get people back faster, so it doesn't seem like that's the issue. The back stuff came up. He denied that. It's all part of this mystery, really, of what's going on. All we know is he came in on Tuesday and he got put on PUP, and he hasn't practiced yet. He's there every day. He's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of where the running backs are working out. The whole thing is just really odd. But, on the field, aside from the fact that he's not obviously participating, he's out there chatting with Michael Pittman the other day, yesterday before practice, about 5 minutes with Shane Steichen behind the end zone. He seems pretty normal when he's out there, but of course, it's not his teammates and the coaches that his conflict's with. So it's a real ugly situation right now, and there are so many questions that don't have answers. And it'll be really interesting to see where this all ends up.
I saw they brought in a running back. Are they consider bringing in more, or maybe a proven guy? I think he went to University of Indianapolis or something like that. But are they consider bringing anybody else in, or that's not in the picture right now?
Yeah, not at this point. I hesitate to rule anything out, the way things have gone so far. But right now, there is a chance Zach Moss will be back by week 1. We don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. We'll see how that bone heals. But he's in that. It's still a possibility at this point. And so far, looks like they're ready to just roll with Deion Jackson and rookie Evan Hall for the time being. They continue, at least Steichen continues to say that Taylor's part of his plan, as the head coach. So it's, right now it's all just every day. It feels like there's some new mix to it, some new twist. And the worst part is there's no middle ground between the two stances right now. You can't meet in the middle, where they're at. It's completely opposite ends of the spectrum. So somebody's going to have to budge at some point if they are going to find a way to get him back out on the field.
But does JT have any leverage? I feel like the Colts have, and the teams always have more leverage, especially in his situation. I don't know. I think him and his agent kind of played this wrong, and there probably is going to be some people out there with fillers and be interested in trading. But I don't know if the Colts would even do that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there are very few cards he can play, and requesting a trade was probably the biggest one. But that means somebody's got to come in and give them something significant, and then want to also give him an extension. That's unlikely. You just don't see it happen really at any position other than maybe quarterback, and certainly not running back right now the way the market is. And I think whatever leverage JT has, which is not a lot to begin with, it's diminishing by the day. I mean, as you get closer and closer to the season, at some point he's got to make a decision to either play this year and play it under the final year of his rookie contract, or to sit out and lose all that money as well. So, yeah, I think that's part of the team's thinking right now, is that with the running back situation the way it is, a lot of the leverage is on their side, and they can maybe wait this out. But I think if you're JT and if you're his agent, you're, like you said, you're hopeful that there's one team out there that wants to make an offer that the Colts can't refuse, and it also wants to pay him, a long-term deal.
Ooh, tough deal there, but man, I can't believe we're talking about the running back more than the quarterback. How's your young quarterback doing, and Minshew as well, who are both doing, I think, number 1 reps?
That's been the biggest surprise of camp so far, is that we came in thinking, okay, this is going to be a pretty straightforward camp. It's going to be daily updates on Anthony Richardson, daily updates on that quarterback competition and how the offense is looking, and yeah, it's all on the back burner now. It's all sort of been hijacked by the running back situation. But right now he looks young. He has good days, he has bad days. Yesterday was probably his roughest day in camp, but they were working on red zone and third down, and right now that's where he's probably been challenged the most. And somebody else out there, covers the team, Mike Chappell, said he makes the best throw in camp every day, and he makes the worst throw in camp every day. And I think that's been pretty true. Gardner's been as advertised. He's a vet. He's been around. Obviously, everybody in this division has seen him, quite a bit of him with Jacksonville. He's a guy who has a really good attitude, a great teammate, knows this offense from being in Philadelphia. So I think he's been a calming influence at a time they really need one right now with everything else that's going on. But that I think the quarterback competition is going to go all the way to week 1, honestly.
We're with George Bremer, Colts beat writer.
So, George, we were talking about Irsay off the top in his bus, and just he finds himself in the news a lot. I'll tell you this. People around here love Amy Adams-Strong around the building, and the fans love her. There's a genuine love for that lady. What is the genuine thought about Irsay in and around the building, with the media, with fans? What do people think about that guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the employees swear by him. You know, the people that are in there day to day, the media folks, the people who are in the building that make that building run, that aren't, you know, in contract disputes and having to deal with the on-field situation. You know, as long as I've been around here, I've been around teams since 2010. The people who work for him talk about him being, you know, unbelievable in his generosity and the things that he does kind of behind the scenes that you never hear about. You hear, you know, whispers and stories about him paying for a funeral or paying for, you know, whatever it might be that somebody's going through that he just doesn't even take credit for it. I think his biggest issue right now is he's one of these guys that tends to want to have the last word in every fight. And so, you know, at times when it's probably better to just sit back and let it play out, he'll insert himself, and almost every time, especially in the last couple of years that that's happened, it's made the situation worse. It makes it, you know, from an outside standpoint, a national standpoint, it puts the focus on him, and it makes it even more of a mess than it is. I think this was going to be a complicated situation no matter what, just because of the economics right now in the NFL and the position that JT plays and him coming off the injury. But when the owner goes out on Twitter and says, you know, hey, the running backs their agents are negotiating in bad faith, that opens the door for all the rest of this that's come before that. And I think that's, you know, at times you'd probably like to see him take a back seat a little more. I think he's a guy with a really good, generous heart. I think a lot of fans really see that, support that, but he has a knack for kind of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time.
So every year teams get asked about a coach being on the hot seat. I will ask you, how hot is Chris Ballard's seat in Indy?
Yeah, that's a really good question because obviously he survived last year, you know, when they were 4-12-1. And at that time, Jim Irsay was very much still in his corner saying that, you know, that all the reasons that he'd hired him, he still saw him there. But this is year 7, I think, might be year 8 that he's going into. There's no division titles. There's only one playoff win. Right now, they're in kind of a rebuild mode. I think you can see that this is more of an evaluation year, I think, than anything else, trying to find out what these young guys can do and see who you've got moving forward. But it'll be interesting to see how long that leash is at this point because, you know, sooner or later, they've got to take steps forward. They've got to get back into contention for division titles. You know, that's the expectation everywhere, not just here. I think that's the expectation everywhere in the NFL. And, you know, to this point, there's been a lot that's gone on during Chris Ballard's tenure. Everyone's aware of that. But to this point, they don't have enough to show for it. And I think probably this coach hire and this quarterback hire has to work, I think, for the GM to continue here long term.
Talking to George Bremer, he is the Colts beat writer from the Herald Bulletin newspaper at GM Bremer on Twitter.
Wait, George, what's Ballard's contract situation? Where is he at? And after all these quarterback moves, and probably some of them not his choices or his choice of moves, I would have asked for an extension. Shoot, man.
He got extended, I want to say 2 years ago. So much is running together right now because the last couple of years around here have been insane. But I think it was 2 years ago. He and Frank Wright got extended at the same time.
Okay.
So he's got 2 or 3 years left on that deal. But you figure, I mean, really for him, it's no different than anybody else in the NFL. It's down to, at this point, Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson. I mean, when you make that quarterback hire or that head coach hire and you draft a quarterback, that's what you're going to be measured on. And really, I think that's the most important thing this year, even more than wins and losses. Obviously, they want to see progress. They want to take a step forward. They don't want to be 4-12-1 again. But I think even more important than what that final record is Anthony Richardson's growth. Do you feel in December and January that you made the right choice and this is the right guy moving forward for the franchise? I think that's the biggest thing he's going to be measured by and judged by this year.
What's it look like on the defensive side? I know you guys had a good defensive front. Is Shaq Leonard, is he healthy or finally healthy where he's practicing on a daily basis? Kind of go through the defense.
Yeah, Shaq being back out there is another one of those things that kind of got overshadowed a bit by everything else that's going on in camp. But he's not at full contact yet, so there's still some work to be done. He's been out there every day. He's been working in at least 7-on-7 every day, moving a lot better than he was the last couple of years. I think just for him being able to practice, I think it's the first time since 2020 that he's been on the field for training camp. So that's a big step forward in and of itself. But there's obviously still, there's work to be done to get him to week one and to get him back to where he was, the early part of his career. And obviously he's going to be the engine for this defense. He's the guy that brings the juice. He's the guy that creates the turnovers. They're a much different team when he's on the field and he's the maniac than when he's on the sideline just trying to support them from there. I think the rest of the defense is fairly young. I mean, they've got the two big guys up front in DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, who they have a lot of faith in, who've kind of helped them defend the run really well the last couple of years. On the edge, you're hoping that Kwity Paye can stay healthy, take a big step forward. You're hoping that Dio Dangbo can come in and build off what was a strong finisher last year for him. And then in the secondary, you've got a lot of young guys, first and second year guys, rookies, and guys who have maybe only been in the league on practice squads or have like a cameo in the regular season. That's usually not a great recipe in this league. So it'll be interesting. I think they're going to take their lumps, but they feel like they got some guys who really fit Gus Bradley's system who can grow with this defense and grow with this team in time.
Oh, yeah, Gus Bradley, definitely know who he is. Man, Ben from Indy, I remember the Colts moving there. I think this is their 40-year, anniversary, if you want to give it that. Are they doing anything special, or am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right. 40th anniversary. There's $40 tickets right now at camp for however long supplies last. That's the big thing going on at the moment. But, yeah, there'll be a few things throughout the year to celebrate the 40th year here in Indy. And, it's probably not the best way to kick off this anniversary celebration.
No doubt about it. We went with George Bremer, Colts beat writer.
Yeah, I was just going to ask on the way out, any promotions with Mayflower moving trucks?
That's a there you go.
For
Not
you
at
young
this
people,
point,
that's
but
who
you know
moved
what?
him in the middle of the night from Baltimore to Indy on
That's all
Mayflower
I
moving
remember
trucks.
when I was a kid.
Yep.
Man. I think I was in 7th, 8th
I
grade.
feel like you want to get Jonathan Taylor out of the news. Maybe that's the way to go.
How's my buddy of mine, his kid's on the team, Downs? I drafted him from
Josh.
North Carolina. How's he doing at receiver?
They feel really good about him. I think you obviously look at his production at North Carolina and what he did there with a couple really good quarterbacks. I think they feel like he can be a guy who can grow alongside Anthony Richardson, kind of a security blanket guy. It's early days. They've only been in pads twice, so it's hard to really make broad statements about anybody. But I know the GM brought him up without being asked in the pre-camp press conference, and that's always a good sign for a player.
No doubt.
George, thank you, man. Great stuff, and thanks for getting us up to date on the soap opera up in Indy, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, no problem anytime, guys.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it. Chirp, chirp.
That's right. Fellow Ball Stater to Blaine, George Bremer at GM Bremer on Twitter, Herald Bulletin newspaper. When we come back, I don't know if y'all know this. NFL's been listening to this show. I have proof.
What?
I ask for something, and it might happen. I'll tell you all the details next. Thanks for listening, Roger.
Oh, I can't wait. What is that?
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. So I said this back when the XFL season started, because it was around that time that the word broke that the NFL was just going to say, all right, you just fair catch a kickoff anywhere. You can just go out there and fair catch a kickoff. So all the people like Mark Mariani and a bunch of dudes who was like, the only way I made the team was by returning kickoffs or playing a kickoff team were like, man, we're not even getting a chance anymore. Huh? So that's going to kill off a bunch of people's, literally, their road to the NFL. It does.
Right. They can just use the backup running back.
Sure.
Well, if you return, 2 or 3, 4, 5 times a year, that's fine. You do right. Just hold on to the ball.
We don't necessarily even have to have the best guys to be wedges or blockers or, build the wall, anything like that, because it doesn't matter. We're just going to stick a guy back there who can catch the kickoff, and then we're going to fair catch it, and we're going to roll on with our lives. Well, I said they should do what the XFL does, where everybody's 5 yards apart, and only people can move are the kicker and the return man until the return man catches the ball.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Guess what old Florio's reporting?
What?
Maybe Roger was listening to us.
Or was he just watching that league?
Well, I mean, there is that possibility.
But you did say they should use it.
I said they should do it. It's fantastic.
And I probably said that the NFL doesn't want to adopt anything that they didn't create. Probably somewhere along those lines.
100%. Like, why are we going to do what this jackleg bunch is doing?
I think they could use it for a test, case study.
That's what it should be. It should be that for everything. Yeah. It should be the USXFL. They should sponsor it. Like quarterbacks could go there and get reps.
They should own it, actually.
100% they should. And here's your thing, Blaine. You could send
referees over there, too, to get some practice.
You could do that. Yeah, and guys.
Lucas.
You could ship some of these teams to Munich, Germany, and England, and you could call it the London Guard and the German Beers and whatever you wanted to call it.
I didn't even think like that. Oh, man.
Why am I the only one who's playing chess here with this?
Well, you could use them over there to see how much fan base. But I think they know they're going to have some fan support over there because they did it with the original XFL, right?
The original.
What was it called?
It was called the World League of American Football. We laugh.
The world. That's right, man. It was kind of cool watching them over
You
there.
export some of these rascals to other countries. And here's the thing. I'm some dude in a third-tier football league, and I can go live in Europe for a season? Yeah. I'll do it. Because then you're the young guy who's traveling and also playing football. You could experiment everything. Hey, man, we're going to make the kickoff for this game 7 yards apart. Hey, man, we're going to have, I don't know, whatever.
So they're going to do it this year?
No, he doesn't know. But this is what Mike Florio said. The NFL is exploring XFL data regarding the kickoff play. The overriding goal is to reduce the potential for concussions, but by shrinking the distance between opposing players, the XFL rule leaves only 5 yards of space for players to cover before contact. It can keep them from getting to top speed because they're not running all the way down the field like you did and your teammates of your era.
Oh, yeah.
And people holding hands, making a wall that they'd say, Blaine, go and throw yourself at the wall and break it so then the next guy can run through and make a tackle.
Yeah, well, they broke me, and I was a helicopter and went flying off I didn't know where I was at.
And you said, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, there wasn't too many things that I would say that. But I definitely, when we got I said, I'm not going to be no wedge brush. I don't know why you thought I would. I'm not brushing.
It was called the wedge buster. Like you almost said it. Wedge buster.
Yeah,
that was somebody's job.
I was not going to be that dude no more. I said, I'm going to be the dude that follows the wedge buster.
Yeah.
He said, but he was hurt. I said, well, now I'm hurt.
I'm hurt too.
Dude, I was like, hey, man, they may go have to cut me because I'm not doing that anymore. I think that's the most beat up I've ever been in a game.
And the people.
And we're talking about I was a rookie. I was like, dang, man, I got bruises all over my arms. And I'm like, man, this is, I don't feel so good.
And the people that you had to go hit were linemen and linebackers.
Oh,
big people.
They were huge.
Yeah. Regular, full-size big people.
They thought I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I said, nah, I'll give it a try, but that is not going to be what I do.
I want this to happen. I want US
cool.
XFL.
Cool.
They can have teams in Europe. They can do it however they want. They can try all these rules. The eye in the sky referee. Remember, I told about they called like a holding play or whatever, and the eye in the sky goes, he didn't hold him. It's just the angle that he did not hold him. So they like a touchdown got kept because of an obvious play that eye in the sky said he didn't do it. Y'all missed that one.
Well, speaking of eye in the sky, callers can call in too to help me out because I'm not real versed at any of this, but like at practice now with Independence. they have the drone up in their video all the practice. The drone. We got, a freshman kid who knows all technology and everything, and he says it takes like 2 or 3 hours to, it can go up there, and then they have to charge it kind of like all day. Can you use a drone, a high-level drone, maybe a bigger one for the league, and use that to be for fans to see, and somebody's just on the sideline working that? And you can see everything instead of having those cameras zoom in and putting the wires up and all of that. They can just look through this and make it, high level where you can, where fans can see some of the stuff if you want to flip over to it. I don't know, man. That seems like that's pretty cool.
I think there's people already using them.
We're out there in the fog today, and I'm like, dang, there it is. It, it has lights on it like it's a plane and everything. And I'm like, dang, that looks sweet. Then when we were watching film, and I'm like, oh, dang. Did a great job here filming this and being the whole time. But I was like, dang, we can get some.
Oh, no, drones are already there, man. People are already using them. Yeah.
I don't see them at the Titans practice. Where they get their film from?
They got those things that look like a boat with a periscope.
Oh.
It zooms in real hard.
They, remember when I was there, we had the and the guy up at the top, sitting there filming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, dang, where's the film
they
guy
send all those back to Hugging Hall.
Lucas laughing at me. He's like,
still use those in high school ball.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. They're not independents. They don't. They got the drone.
Right.
I know
but
some
I'm saying
other
you still
schools
see
do
those all over
the
in high
place.
school.
Oh, sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to be
sure
much
other
cheaper
schools
than
do.
a season-long rental of a scissor lift, I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then those things, when the weather got bad, then something happened. I think it was Notre Dame.
Yeah, something real bad.
So,
Well,
but Mickey, I think you're on to something there. Maybe will happen.
Buy the league. Sponsor the league. Quarterbacks get reps. Your linemen get developed.
There's a lot of guys getting picked up, too, for shots. And, getting into some workouts and, quarterback, any position.
What's that, Alize Mack? Didn't he come from one of those leagues? Yeah.
So
For the Titans tight end. So, all right. Well, once I'm named the commissioner, I'll stick around and help you guys as long as I can.
Ooh, can I
But
be your VP?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's all go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll bring in Lucas to be over our podcast.
Okay. There you go. The USXFL podcast coming soon to you with featuring Lucas Panzica. All right, we're featuring hour number 2 coming up. Jordan Dajani will join us in, I don't know, like 25 minutes. So why would you miss that? Headlines coming up next right here on Blaine and Mickey.
It is 2:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. It's walkthrough day for the Titans out at training camp. Tuesday marked the second padded practice of 2023. The team will be back full go on the practice field on Thursday. Fall camp starting up in Knoxville today. Tennessee hit the practice field earlier this morning. Now 1 month away from kicking off year 3 of the Josh Heupel era in Nashville against Virginia Labor Day weekend. Around the NFL, Rams star wide receiver Cooper Kupp left practice early on Tuesday, undergoing an MRI on his hamstring. The team saying that Kupp could be back in a few weeks. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Woo, Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. It is, it's the nexus of the sports talk universe. We're halfway through the halfway point of the week, hump day. As you heard in Lucas Panzica's very expansive update, the Tennessee Titans are doing one of their walkthrough days today. So no media today to watch the Titans do the walkthrough. We won't get to see that. It looks like that's going to be a typical Wednesday thing, so we'll kind of keep you updated on things as they happen. Of course, they'll be back out there tomorrow, and we'll be back out there tomorrow. That's the way that's going to go. Went back yesterday and did some digging, talked a lot about the quarterback situation, and our man Jimmy Wyatt has done a fantastic job as always. I don't know how he does this. I need to ask him, but he may not tell me his trade secret. He sees everything that happens in every practice. Now, think about that. I don't know how he does it. I'm at the same practices. A lot of times I'm standing near Jim Wyatt. He sees everything that happens. He has actually charted all the quarterback throws. So where are they and how well are they doing? So this is with what I'd have to look, multiple days of no pads, 3, then a couple of days of padded practice. So Jim Wyatt tracked the quarterbacks and he tracked the kickers. Here's how they're doing so far. It says Ryan Tannehill, 46 of 62. So I'm going to have to lean on Lucas to maybe do some math, or if we got Honk or somebody in the control room in there. Like
Say the numbers again.
So Ryan Tannehill, for all the practices so far, 46 of 62. Now, he has one pick because Sean Murphy-Bunting got it. That was the first day in pads.
What that play was, I'll never forget it. That was Los Angeles. Yeah,
You called the play.
St. Louis Rams play.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what they ran.
Shows you everything old is still around.
Soon as 3 disappears, 2 is coming in. Boom, bang. There you go. But he stems outside. Bunny knew too, man. He was on it. I was watching him.
Where he was supposed to be. So Ryan Tannehill, 46 of 62.
74%.
74%. Oh, so he's completing 74% in camp. 1 interception. I believe Will Levis also, I think they each have 1 interception. Will Levis is 28 of 41. 28 of 41. Lucas,
68%.
68%. Malik Willis is 27 of 45. Again, 60%. This is per the tracking of one Jimmy White. This is in 7-on-7 and team periods combined. So 74, what did you say? Levis is
68.
68.
And then 60.
Okay. 74, 68.
And 60.
60%. So that's in all the 7-on-7 and team periods. Again, I've been out there every day. It's my understanding each one has 1 interception during that time in 7-on-7 and team periods. Jim White also has been tracking the kickers. And we were talking about this yesterday. They each had 1 miss in the last most recent, like 1 kicked one day in pads and 1 kicked the other, Shudak and Trey Wolf. They both missed 2 kicks in camp. Trey Wolf is 26 of 28. Per Jim Wyatt, Caleb Shudak is 18 of 20. So as of now, Trey Wolf has gotten 8 more opportunities to kick in camp even than Shudak. Now, how they do this, in the past, Blaine, it was 4 exhibition games. So you'd be like, these are your 2, Blaine, and these are your 2, Mickey. It's 3 now. So I'll be real interested to see how they dole this. Do they do it by drive? Do they do it by quarter, by half? They do it by game?
Or situations. If one's already kicked a long field goal, then do you get your shot at a long field goal? Even though it should be, the other kid's quarter, or half, or whatever it may be. Just so you can see them both under those kind of circumstances, or a short one, whatever it may be. So It'll be situational. I love not telling kickers because that's kind of you're getting as close as you can to say, okay, go out there and kick, not knowing it was your turn. And then, where does the meter go? Oh, I got to make this. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God, yeah. So I want to keep them off balance. I probably, in the preseason, I wouldn't tell them too much of anything, really. But, yeah, it's, very underrated competition here at the kicker, which is vitally important, as we all know, winning and losing games, especially the way the Titans play close to the vest and all the games are pretty close. Got to have pretty much an automatic kicker from 50 and inside, and then got to be probably 90, percent or more, and then got to be, somewhere in the 80s after 50. It's tough. So
I need to look. Who was the guy the Seahawks cut a kicker loose and the Jags signed him almost immediately after that? It was a veteran guy. Do you remember that?
The Lions.
The Lions,
yeah, I was going to say that.
The Lions cut him or signed him?
Cut him, right?
And then the Jags
or was it the
signed
other way
him.
around that the Jags?
No,
the
somebody
Jags
cut him
signed
and the
him.
Jags signing because we're like, ooh.
Yeah, because I was like,
Yeah.
that kicker's proven. I don't know if it was the Lions, though. I forget who it was. It was a proven kicker, though.
I'm just going to tell you.
I would
would've
the
been
Jags cut Riley Patterson, who the Lions signed.
But I think they cut him because they signed the veteran that somebody else had cut. We just
Right.
need to look and see who's the Jags kicker.
But right now, the Titans are all in on one of these two guys going to win. Whoever wins the job, they're going to go with him. That's how it looks. I don't think they're going to go with a veteran kicker. Unless one, poops the pants in the regular season. Like once that starts and all of a sudden, they miss a couple kicks and cost some games, then they're going to, we got to go. Who's out there?
McManus is who you're thinking of.
McManus.
In Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think he has a strong leg too. He was one of the kickers, I think, that I was like, whoa, that's a nice name. Because he wasn't out there, but like 2 or 3 days, it was quick.
Like about enough time to book a flight and get to Jacksonville and like go out and kick a few. And they're like, yeah, we're going to cut the other guy. We're going to have to move this dude to get to his 10 years experience, Brandon McManus. 10 years experience. Because when he got cut, it's like, man, this dude, like he's been around a minute.
Yeah, I think it was more because of his salary. And I think they drafted a kicker. Maybe I'm wrong with that. But, yeah, this guy, he's still proven. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, boy, you got to have your tough to come by these days.
That's just one of the things that he'd been with, let's see. It was all that time with the Broncos. I knew it was somewhere out west. I said Seahawks. It was Broncos before somebody blasted me in the F&M Bank chat. All with the Broncos. So had been there since 2014. I remember him getting cut, and the only reason, a kicker getting cut is like if it's somebody that everybody knows, which this dude had been around forever, so it was a name that you knew. Or if your team has literally two guys with one combined game of experience and one is a rookie and the other one is in his second year. And they're out there battling. Both of those guys have strong legs. Trey Wolf, it's like I did a whole thing on this yesterday. He's not even having to take a full walk up, it doesn't look like to me, to blast the ball into oblivion. It's like Levis, when Coach Mack said, he was talking about Brett Favre throwing piss missiles, his words, and he said, that's what Will Levis is doing. And he said sometimes even his lower body isn't into the throw. He's doing it with his upper body. You said something similar about him, like his feet aren't even set, and he's throwing these ridiculous passes.
Yeah. I didn't know he had that kind of ability like that. Coming out now, I didn't scout him like that. I'm just looking at games, but yeah, he's got some. Remember, I said he's got a lot of tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Like when you hear George Bremer talk about Richardson, he's not talking like that. And then he talked about how horrible he did in the red zone. then Levis did really well.
Well, he quoted Mike Chappell. He said, every day he makes the best throw of camp, and every day he makes the worst throw of camp.
Which you expect as a rookie quarterback, right? Doesn't even sound like to me like he's really beating out Minshew. Yeah, like it's close, but he's not beating him out right now, and it's still early in camp.
Well, a no run game to lean back on, and they got a lot of question marks with the offensive line. They paid all those guys money, and none of them played up to their standards last year. Mm-hmm. So offensive line with question marks, and no Jonathan Taylor unless some bridges get mended or fences or whatever gets mended to make people like each other again. Some hearts get unbroken. But I'd be like, hey, Minshew, man, hey, I'm going to trot you out there and let you figure this out, you know?
Well, but I don't want them to figure out nothing.
Oh, no.
I don't want to figure out nothing.
It's like all the Titans fans who made fun of Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. I kept saying, be quiet. You want him to be there forever.
Yeah.
Why would you want this to end?
Yeah, I said they were doing something special in the Jags the other day, and it's like all those weapons they have with Cousins and Ridley and the running back ETN, and Lawrence is going to take a whole nother step again the second year with the staff, and I'm like,
Veteran
man.
kicker.
Yeah. Mhm. All of that. I'm like, okay, we shall see.
Nick Ewing says in the F&M Bank chat, it's about the time the Colts had some bad luck. Look, man, every year the Colts get picked to win everything and win the South, and this guy's going to do this and this guy's going to do that. What did Bremer say? They haven't won the South since 2014. So Chris Ballard's never won it since he's been there. And they're picked to win it every year. Now, they're not picked to win it this year, but most years they are. You know, they fumble their way through all the quarterback stuff, and who knows if Richardson's the right guy. Maybe he is. I mean,
he could be. I'm hoping the Titans have the Colts and Texans early. Do you know the schedule? Because I want them to get them early where the quarterbacks don't have experience.
Week 5 against Indy. That's as early as you get the Colts. You get the Texans late, both games. Right?
Yeah, they did a thing where they stuck them both at the end of the year.
The Texans?
The Texans.
I don't like that.
And the Titans have been playing the Colts like both games within the first 6 games for the last couple of years.
Within a 3-week span, too. It was like, what? Man, dang.
That's what they're doing with the Texans, but late in the year. Don't you play them twice in like 3 weeks?
Yeah. Texans on December 17, Texans on December 31. How about them apples?
Oh, yes.
Because December 17, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to see the Texans face the Houston Oilers on the field over here on the Cumberland coastline.
The Houston Oilers?
Yeah. These guys, the Titans, they're going to be dressed like the Oilers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little pissed off about that. But
that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, Nick Ewing, hey, Blaine, do you remember Marshall Falk's first game as a coach? Yeah, I do. And I was an Oiler. Guess what? I was standing on the sideline. That was the first game of the year. First game of my NFL career. I was like, ooh, Marshall Falk is fast.
If you only knew how your path was going to cross later.
Oh, yeah, it did. And I tried to knock his block off. We scrimmaged them. We practiced against them one year, too. Oh, yeah, that was great. Oh, I was lit that whole practice. Boy, Isaac Bruce and Holt and, Falk was like,
This was after the Super Bowl? Like next.
No, this might have been, I don't know. Oh, yeah, it was the year after the Super Bowl.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was.
I
may have to go look that up, but whatever it was, I was. Boy, they might as well act like that was Super Bowl every day of that training camp.
Well,
we were there for like three or 4 days. Too.
Oh my gosh! And that's back. That's back in days when you just fight with people. Like people fought.
Well, I wasn't fighting.
You weren't, but like other knuckleheads would be like, "I'm about to fight this guy."
They might as well was like, "Dang, how much money you want to put on somebody gonna fight today?"
Do you remember the year that I don't know if you were gone, but the Titans scrimmaged the Falcons, and they just fought the whole time. They just fought and kept fighting and fought and.
That happened in Washington when we scrimmaged them in Washington. That was exhausting. I got tired of pulling people off. I just started standing there watching people.
Yeah.
And backing out the way.
Get a cold.
Because it's just too much. And Mark Robb started one of them. I said, why did you do that? I mean, he launched and just ear-holed somebody helmet to helmet. I was like, dude. Oh, man. This practice might as well be over. It was a fight every time after that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, y'all playing like that? Like, no, they playing like Lucas.
Jordan Dajani, he plays like Lucas. He went to school with Lucas. He's going to join us next. Did he go to school with you?
We did. Yeah, we overlapped at Tennessee.
There you go. Old classmate of Lucas Panzica, Jordan Dajani with the look around the NFL next.
He that young.
Blaine and Mickey giving up the knowledge today to you. Jordan Dajani should be on here in just a minute. We'll talk to him about stories all around the NFL. There's guys holding out. There's guys getting injured. I saw Cooper Kupp got injured again this morning. I was going through my notes. I thought, oh, man.
Yeah, I like his game.
Not again.
Cooper Kupp's the man. We tried our versions of different Cooper Kupps. Didn't work out.
Their cup did not runneth over.
Hopefully, Phillips, though. I think he can be a poor man's Kupp. Yeah, that'd be work. Yeah, I could work with that. He's a great route runner, man. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to get some people. I saw him doing one-on-ones, but he was getting everybody that he went against. Not to name no names. But he got everybody he went against.
The clinic for him in one-on-ones last year, you and me watching him versus the Bucks, and they had no answer for him and Mason Kinsey that day. You were like, my gosh.
I felt so bad for it. I had to go tell their scouts that y'all need to get different DBs to cover the slot. Y'all have nobody. And all these long 6'1", 6'2", they can't cover them jitterbugs. They couldn't cover Kinsey either. Oh, he dominated. To me, they should have signed Kinsey to a long-term deal right after that.
Titans. Well, no, the box. Just take him with you. Let him be on your practice squad.
Him and Phillips just like, woo. They tried to put safeties on them, corners. It didn't matter. I said, hey, man, those 6'2" dudes used to guard those 6'4" guys, man. This right here is, on a whole nother level of quickness.
No, it's just like Jordan Dajani with putting out articles. Just a whole nother level of quickness, man. He gets them out all the time.
That's what he did today.
CBS Sports. JD, what's going on, man? 26 hours from now, there'll be NFL football getting played.
Oh, I can't believe
What's going on, my friends?
Happy
Football Eve. We are here. We have made it. I know it's just the Hall of Fame game. I know it's just the preseason. But the fact of the matter is that 2 NFL teams, 2 professional football squads will be hitting the gridiron tomorrow night, and I'm very excited about it.
Early returns on D-Hop. I mean, we've been watching him practice. What kind of vibe are you picking up?
Yeah, I wish I could have been out there on the practice field with you guys, but I'm picking up a great vibe. I mean, coming from reports with all the reporters there saying that this guy definitely has still got it. He can still make highlight plays, and we've seen a couple of those highlight plays out there on Twitter as well. And you know what really has stood out to me is that there's an energy around this guy, right? I mean, he has not been shy to take to social media and say, you know what, I heard that this guy didn't practice. What was all that noise about? So I like what I'm seeing from DeAndre Hopkins, not only on social media, but on the practice field as well. The Titans really need a number 1 pass catcher. So I'm excited to see what he's capable of in this new offense.
Man, things in Indy are more messed up than a pile of coat hangers. What a wild time to be up there.
Oh, my goodness, man. I mean, when you talk about, like, the best quotes in the NFL, right? The dictionary is the only place that success comes before work. Vince Lombardi, playoff speech from Jim Mora. How about, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, no one's going to miss us, coming from Jim Irsay. That is crazy how you address the best player on your roster. And you want to talk about a situation that went from 0 to 100 real quick, right? We didn't know anything was going on with Jonathan Taylor until all of a sudden this trade request comes following his meeting on that nice tour bus with Jim Irsay, man. So it's an interesting situation. I'm sure we can talk a lot about it here, but it doesn't seem like Jonathan Taylor has a ton of leverage, right? It seems like, I think the back injury is something that we need to discuss, and if it's real, if it's not real, whatever that does, because there's implications with the NFI list, with the 4th accrued season. Ultimately, since he doesn't have any leverage, I feel like he's going to end up returning to the fold. The Colts have no interest in trading for him. I'm sure that other teams, it'd be interesting to see what compensation they could get for him, what they would offer for him. He just doesn't have any leverage. So if I had to make a guess on what's going to happen, I feel like he's going to end up playing some games for the Colts this season.
I'm hearing Kansas City's interested in him. Is this true? This would be just devastating to the whole league.
The Chiefs and Jonathan Taylor? No, I did not see that.
No.
I did see a quote about someone asked some scout, maybe from an AFC team, what team would trade for Jonathan Taylor? And someone brought up, I think it was the Bears, but that's not a report, right? That's just kind of overhyped noise, right? And I mean, if you ask me the same question, yeah, I feel like the Bears, being the number 1 rating rushing offense, would look at Jonathan Taylor, but I really highly doubt any kind of deal would ever come to fruition. Again, I think Taylor's going to play for the Colts.
Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports, our guest this time every Wednesday.
Well, Jordan, I want you to pull out your magic genie bottle and tell us if Alvin Kamara is going to be playing in the first game versus the Titans, which is the first game of the season, because I know he's going to meet the commissioner, I think, today.
Yes, that's a good move, in my opinion, from Alvin Kamara, wanting to sit down with Roger Goodell and really address the situation and just talk about what exactly happened. I think that's a good move on his part, as opposed from him just remaining quiet and not talking to the man in charge of the National Football League. But here's the fact of the matter. I do believe that he's going to be suspended. I don't think it's going to be 6 games. That was the initial report from NBC Sports, what was it, maybe last summer, when the felony charge was still attached to his name. Of course, as we know, he took a plea deal. He's no longer facing a felony. The legal issues for Alvin Kamara are now behind him. They're now in the rearview mirror. But, of course, he's not exactly done with the NFL. He is going to be suspended, in my mind. I would guess a couple games. So I really don't think he's going to be on the field week 1 against the Tennessee Titans.
But will Joe Burrow be on the field week 1? I would. You just don't know. I mean, the calf, you could say, sit out for 3-4 weeks, but then those things just like a hammy, even for a quarterback.
Yeah, man. When Joe Burrow breaks the bank and becomes the highest paid player in NFL history, I think his agent's going to have a clause in his contract saying that Joe Burrow can do nothing in the offseason, because this guy's had a really tough career when it comes to the offseason, preseason, right? I mean, he had an ACL recovery. He had a pandemic to deal with. He had the appendectomy when he lost a bunch of weight. Now he's got this calf strain that's having him miss a couple of practice reps. But the bottom line is that this injury does not appear to be too severe. It's not like he popped his Achilles or anything like that. I'm sure that the Bengals are going to be very careful when it comes to his recovery timetable. So, no, I don't think he's going to miss any time in the regular season. They're going to be careful with him. It seems like they dodged a bit of a bullet, especially when you take the video into consideration.
Well, who's been running? Who's the 2 and 3 quarterback? Because, man, I don't recall them having anybody with proven history in the NFL. Who are their backup quarterback? Do you know?
I do believe I know they signed a guy, Reed Sinnett, who is going to be probably like 4th string or 3rd string. But I think they have Trevor Siemian, former Titans practice squad, and I believe they have Jake Browning as the 3rd string as well. So those will be the quarterbacks doing the training camp work while Joe Burrow massages his calf.
Well, I don't think he needs to worry. But they need to get a backup quarterback there to me. I mean, at least a veteran guy. Well, Simeon, I guess. But, man, he's built like a cloth. I mean.
Cloth.
man, you sneeze, man. He may end up being on the injured reserve. No, I'm just kidding, man. But
and I will say this. There is a quarterback with starting experience still looking for that new job. He goes by the name of Carson Wentz. So if Joe Burrow misses some time, which, again, I don't think he will, Carson Wentz is a veteran name to keep in mind just for any quarterback situation around the NFL.
Well, since we're talking about a little bit of controversy, what did you think about all the Sean Payton comments and apology when he was talking about Hackett in his year with the Broncos there, man?
Oh, man. I mean, did Sean Payton think he was off the record or something? Those are for some pretty harsh quotes. But, I mean, I definitely didn't expect those to come from an NFL head coach. I think the bottom line is that he said something we all kind of agree with. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett did have one of the worst head coaching jobs in recent memory in the NFL, and maybe NFL history, as Sean Payton said. And we saw Nathaniel Hackett kind of come out and address those quotes. He wasn't very clear in his response, but he basically made it known that, the NFL coaching is a fraternity, it's a brotherhood, and when he takes shots at guys, it doesn't go over well towards that coach in particular, and also his friends, Robert Saleh and other people around the league, such as Aaron Rodgers, who may be motivated by such quotes. So, that's what I really took away from that whole scenario. And the biggest thing is that these two teams play week 5. And the last thing you want to do is motivate Aaron Rodgers, because we've seen what a motivated Aaron Rodgers can do, winning back-to-back MVPs. He's now rejuvenated with this change of scenery. Nathaniel Hackett seems like a brother to this guy. And we saw what Aaron Rodgers said on NFL Network, keep my coach's name out your mouth, pulling some Will Smith up on stage there. So it's going to be an interesting week 5 matchup, I'll tell you that.
We're on with NFL writer for CBS Sports, Jordan Dajani.
What's your favorite quarterback battle right now? I know you've been writing about that for CBS.
Yeah, it was an interesting piece because when I take a step back and look at some of the battles around the league, they're not as intriguing as maybe last season's, right? I mean, last year we had Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Geno Smith, Drew Lock. Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. I don't think we have any kind of those high-profile battles, but I will tell you that, these are some underrated matchups. The biggest one that has caught my eye over the past 24 hours has to be going down in Tampa, Florida, and that's Baker Mayfield versus Kyle Trask. Now, I think every casual NFL fan will believe that Baker's probably the heavy favorite to win this job, and I tend to agree. That's my official prediction. But according to reports over the past couple of days, Kyle Trask has really made this competition close. I mean, this was a guy who led the FBS in touchdown passes when he was a second-round pick a couple of years ago. He's a young prospect with some potential, and if he shows enough potential to this Buccaneers coaching staff, he may be able to win this battle. But again, if I had to make a prediction, I'm looking at Baker Mayfield. The other competition I'll touch on quickly is, of course, going on in the Bay with San Francisco. Brock Purdy versus Lance versus Sam Darnold. And it's kind of hard to get a pulse on this match because, we have this coaching staff coming out and talking about Sam Darnold like he's Steve Young and saying that he has potential to win this job. But I really do think it's more between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. And with Brock Purdy being fully cleared and he's throwing without any restrictions, according to reports, he's got to be the favorite in this matchup because he stepped in as QB3, Mr. Irrelevant, and led the 49ers to the doorstep of the Super Bowl. This is a guy who's shown that kind of potential with limited reps. So I would imagine that Brock Purdy wins this job if no other kind of medical issues pop up during training camp.
There are some big-name guys holding out, among them a couple of big-time defensive front guys, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones. These are big-name guys to not be in camp right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm almost a little surprised. I know it's only been a week since we last talked, but I was almost expecting this Nick Bosa deal to come down the line because the 49ers know exactly what they have in this guy. They know that he's going to probably reset the market at pass rusher. And our cap expert, Joe Corey, even wrote a piece saying that he has a case to become, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history as well. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen, but I know that the 49ers are working in due diligence to try to get a deal done with their star pass rusher. That's something I'm expecting to happen this offseason. Now, the Chris Jones situation is kind of interesting in my mind because this is a guy who's a veteran who really wants to get paid up near that Aaron Donald echelon. And you could make the argument that Chris Jones is the number 2 interior defensive lineman in the NFL behind Aaron Donald. But is he going to get that money's worth? Because the Chiefs are working behind closed doors trying to get their money right when it comes to maybe restructuring Patrick Mahomes to give him more money as well. But it can't be overstated how important Chris Jones is to this defense because he can line up in a couple different spots on the defensive front. They know he's one of their best players, and I'm sure they want to keep him in the fold.
Our buddy Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, hanging out with us with all the latest NFL news and notes.
Well, Jordan, we have the Hall of Fame game, I guess, Jets and Browns, but I'm not even going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you, this is for Mickey, too, as well, is your best alternate uniforms.
Like
the Oilers,
Eagles,
the
Bucks.
Eagles, the Bucks, yeah.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
Seahawks.
You seem like a uniform guy.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say that for sure. And I think we had one of our writers rank the throwbacks. And there's something like 18 this year, which is kind of hard to imagine. I didn't know there were so many. I mean, if I had to give a top 3, not including the Miami Dolphins, because their throwbacks are very clean, but they're kind of similar to their traditional normal ones they have currently. I like the 49ers ones a lot. I know they're throwbacks, and I really do like the font on the uniforms. The 49ers will be top 3. Top 2 would probably be the Houston Oilers throwbacks. I mean, the red trim on the face mask, there's nothing sexier than those uniforms, in my opinion. And then arguably number 1, number 2, I did graduate from the University of Tennessee, so I do like myself some orange. I do like the Buccaneers creamsicles. Yeah, no doubt about that. I think those are clean. I know that they didn't win a ton of games rocking those uniforms back in the day, but those look really sexy in my opinion.
I guess one more on the holdout, though. Is Zach Martin, is he holding out for the Cowboys at guard?
Yes, he is holding out right now, and this is another issue where I feel like the Cowboys are going to get something done. I mean, I think Dak Prescott has come out and said, pay that man. He's one of the best offensive guards in the NFL. He's one of the best linemen in the NFL. He's been consistent as well. I think he's only 32 years old, so he's due for a pay raise. I think he's very important to that Dallas Cowboys front. But, yeah, that's a good point because this is definitely one of the major storylines when it comes to holdouts around the NFL.
And lastly, I know this will sound strange, but I'm all about chemistry when it comes to football and especially in the league. Philadelphia is probably still going to be one of the elite teams in the NFC, but they lost their OC and DC to head coaching jobs. So, do you still see them as a big contender for the Super Bowl from the NFC?
I'm glad you brought that up because when it comes to the explosion that was the Eagles last year, I attribute more of that success almost to Shane Steichen than Nick Sirianni. I know that Nick Sirianni is really the front man in Philly, but Shane Steichen, in my mind, he seemed like the guy who really got Jalen Hurts to take that next jump into superstardom. I believe the new offensive coordinator, maybe the new play caller with Philly, is going to be Ben Johnson. I think he's the quarterback's coach as well. Not Ben Johnson. I might be blanking on his name.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, Ben Johnson's also with the Lions too. There's Brian Johnson maybe. Anyway, the new offensive coordinator with the Eagles is a guy that hasn't had too much NFL experience. I believe he was an assistant at Florida recently. So he has some big shoes to fill when it comes to getting this Eagles offense off the ground, much like they were last year. This was one of the best rushing offenses, but they were just as deadly through the air with the addition of A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith's arguably a top 10 wide receiver as well. So he has some big shoes to fill there in Philly. And when it comes to the NFC, we know that's the weaker conference, right? So the Eagles are going to be a top 2 team from that conference in my mind. They have enough talent on both sides of the ball to win that conference once again.
Jordan Dajani, hey, on the way out, we got like 30 seconds. Hated to see Jalen Hurd retired. That announcement made yesterday. Just never really got a chance to get his career off the ground. I would have loved to have seen what he could have done healthy.
That receiver.
Yeah, I would have too, man. And, he was a guy who was a great running back at the University of Tennessee. He really did single-handedly win a couple of games. I go back to recovering that fumble in the end zone against App State in Week 1 at Neyland Stadium back when I was a college kid. But, man, he made that position change. He went to wide receiver. He went to Baylor. I think he was the Big 12 newcomer of the year. Had a pretty good year as a wideout. Went to the NFL, and I think he had like 2 touchdowns in a preseason game with the 49ers. But then, unfortunately, injuries took their toll. So that was a really talented player, a local kid from Nashville area. Really unfortunate to see that because I was hoping he could, find a role on that Patriots team who was looking to add a wide receiver, by the way. But unfortunately, he's ended up on the reserve retired list. So, but yeah, that's a guy who it didn't seem like he really got to his potential because he could have been a pro ball player.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah,
they get you. Jordan Dajani, man, always great catching up with you. Great stuff as always. People need to follow you at Jordan Dajani. They can do that on Twitter. Also, CBS Sports, where you and all your colleagues do some great writing. Thank you as always, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, JD.
The great JD. All right, when we come back, Joe Milton says he changed his mechanics. We listened to this soundbite earlier. It's an interesting soundbite from the Tennessee quarterback as they took the field for the first time in fall camp today. Blaine and Mickey 1045 The Zone. Thanks for spending your Wednesday with us. Wednesday, he said. Kids going back to school this week. A lot of happy parents. A lot of sad kids.
Yeah.
Boy, that's like a...
Teachers already in meetings already.
Yeah. God bless teachers, coaches,
no doubt.
Lunch ladies, and everybody making it happen. Bus drivers, love y'all. Appreciate what y'all do. Taking care of all of our little people and helping them get their learn on every day. We appreciate you. Joe Milton, I guess you're never too old to learn. It's like year 6 of college for him.
Is it, Lucas? Is it 6 or 7? Lucas is listening.
You're saying, is this his
Joe Milton? What year is this for him?
like total?
Yeah.
Michigan and everything?
Yeah.
Total?
6 or 7?
I think it's 6.
6. Oh, okay.
I'll double check, but I think it's 6.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was as old as Ron Slay. I didn't know. Ron Slay's in there.
As old as Ron Slay.
I don't think Slay got that COVID year. I don't think he got that
I
COVID.
don't know, man.
Well, I would love to see Slay get his COVID year.
Milton, or was he just 2?
I thought it was 2. I'll double check every year that he actually had at Michigan.
Yeah, but he's saying now his shoulder.
Michigan 18, 19, 20, Tennessee 21 to present.
Oh, so he was at Michigan for 3 years?
So this is 6.
18, 19.
So, yeah, that makes sense. So 3 years at Michigan, 3 years here.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Well,
yeah, now 23.
He's going on his 6th year.
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay.
So 20. This is his 6th year. Yes, Joe Milton's 6th year.
So he's 26. No, just kidding.
No, he's only
he's
only 23.
No,
despite this lengthy college experience that he's had.
Well, maybe that contributed in there. Okay, yeah. All right, well, cool. 23, not bad. I was 22 when I came out.
So Hypo and the crew. I was 23, a 5th year graduate.
I turned 22 right before training camp started.
Yeah, I spent a pretty good amount of time in college at 23. I felt like the oldest person there.
You got it done, though.
I did. I did get it done. Then I was happy. Now I was like, man, could I just go back? I liked it there.
But at the time you didn't like it.
I was burned out.
You said you didn't want to learn.
No, I don't want to learn. I'm not here to learn.
What are you talking about? You don't want to learn?
I love the school, like the non-school parts of school. I like hanging out with people.
About college, right?
I love going to the library, man. There's a lot of people hung out in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll take books and stuff, but I'll just go around and visit.
Oh, would you just talk to people? Were you supposed to be quiet in the library?
100%. I had a library level that I knew I could nail that.
Nail what?
The library level. Like, I could whisper at this level. No, just like nail down, more friendships.
Oh.
Yeah. I would go over there and I would be friends with him.
A secret spot I could go when I had to study for a test or finals or something in the library on that 3rd floor in the Bracken Library. Boy, nobody would bother. I need a good hour just straight studying. Boom, cramming in there, and I got it for 24 hours. And after that, I forgot it all.
There's no way I was going to go to the library and find a silent place to study. I was not there for that action, boss.
Oh, I definitely went there for that because there was distractions in my apartment, in my house.
I found plenty of distractions in the library. Yeah, I could get distracted anywhere. You do the show with me. You know that. Joe Milton. So this is from TPL Tennessee on X or Twitter. I was never on X in the library.
Help us out. Where are we supposed to call this?
I refuse to call it X.
Can we just say Twitter? Because I keep saying this is on X.
X tweet.
You didn't want to be on X. Well, I mean, maybe you did, but you shouldn't have wanted to be on.
You don't. It doesn't say retweet. It says repost.
I know. Well, TPL Tennessee.
X. I'm going to use
this,
it, but I'm not going to call it that.
So X marks the spot anyway for Joe Milton on changing his throwing mechanics. Apparently, check this out after today's practice.
Not just using on my arm. So my arm doesn't hurt at practice no more. So I think that my lower body cancels out my upper half and just let the upper half be like a barrel for the gun and the lower half be the trigger. So being able to just trigger that and have the upper half where I could just put the ball wherever I want is great.
Oh, so is that
year 6.
Is that the secret to the sauce of why now he's more accurate? Who taught him this? Because the staff has been with you for a while. They just now fixed this?
He had no incompletions today in team drills per Rocky Top Insider.
But the key
is working.
But his shoulder's not sore either.
Can you imagine just, hey, man, I'm 23. It's my 6th year of college. My arm doesn't hurt anymore. That's a big,
Oh. And then to figure out that he has, remember I always say your legs are an extension of your arm when you're a quarterback.
And He's just now getting that.
He said it's triggering.
Yeah. Then it loads from my legs to the barrel of my arm, and then I throw it. But my arm doesn't hurt anymore.
I would have asked him this and see what he would have said. But were your glutes firing?
All I can think about is this. Like the dad in me kicks in. They've had this guy like Dog and Pony Show throwing an orange out of a stadium and doing all this other stuff. You know, his arm was hurting now. This kid, like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll throw this orange a half a mile, but gosh, my arm is killing me. But everything, glutes are working.
He probably
He's
loved
firing.
it too. That's why. He didn't tell nobody but the orange.
We'll end with this. Gibo in the F&M Bank chat says, God bless that old lunch lady with the greasy mustache. She made me who I am today.
Do-do.
We got to go.
But with that being said, in the meantime,
In between time.
peace.